All right, it's a cozy day. I had my COVID booster shot yesterday, and I'm not feeling too bad. But like, I'm tired. I'm chill. So just in the cardigan I made myself last year, and we're gonna talk about some books because I have finished my goal of the day for my thesis, and this is my reward. Ugh, I hate editing. I hate writing. I love reading. I hate writing. All you writers who write all these words, thank you. But let's start with the audiobooks. Still going with A Crown of Swords. I'm now that far, so I just got to chapter 14, I think. Egwene's my favorite character. I don't think I've ever had a favorite character in Wheel of Time. Egwene is now my favorite character. I think I really liked Moraine and I liked other characters. And I knew I should have been liking other characters. I'm like, I can see that you as the author are trying to get me to like someone. But I think now I really like Egwene. I think she is really solid. I like her perspectives. I like how she thinks. I like how she handles situations and the plots that's surrounding her. So hopefully I get a bit of her in the slog. Who knows? But I'm liking Egwene. And now we are seeing a character we haven't actually seen that many perspectives of in a while. I don't think she was really in Lord of Chaos. And so that's going to be really exciting. And they're attempting to do a thing that will help the world. And I'm like, yes, this seems like a good thing to focus on. So we will see if that type of good thinking continues. And they've just come up with a plan that I'm curious about. So this is actually really fun. I don't know, maybe because I've always felt like Wheel of Time meanders, this one doesn't meander more than normal for me. Or maybe it's like Alex Nieves told me, and this isn't the slog. The slog is book 8. We will see, but still enjoying that. Although I keep distracting myself because like last week, I'm still reading Jade War. I'm about that far. So yeah, not quite halfway. I'm like actually 40% of the way in both of these, so go me. But I haven't been going into work this week because I've been working on my thesis at home, so my audiobook time has been all over the place. But Jade War, it's just, some of the characterization is just top notch. I was talking to a friend and I'm like, I just got to that scene, and it's one of those scenes that everyone remembers when they read it, and I'm like, how am I able to understand what this person is thinking and why they're doing what they're doing and almost believe in what they're doing when I know at my core, this is wrong. This is not okay. But that's how good it is. Like, you really understand how people think. And I think that's fantastic. I think the only thing that I don't quite love, about this versus Jade City is that it is such a long stretch of time and we have punctuated moments of importance. Which makes sense, I think, for the scope of the story that'll be told, and for me, that makes this more of a middle book. And I'm curious to see what the end trajectory is with Jade Legacy, which I know is an unpopular opinion. I feel like all people are just like, Jade War, it is everything. And it's not that I don't love the characters, it's not that I don't think it's really well written. I just think that because the timing is so stretched out, I prefer my timelines to be a little bit closer. I think most of the time when I like a book, or I like how pacing works, we're taking place over months, not years, and this takes place over years. So I think that's my one little complaint, but it's good. So much good commentary too about like being an other in different countries and cultures, and so good. I'm just gonna keep saying so good. That's just what's happening. But then something happened. So if you remember from my wrap-up and other recent reads, I actually had a really rough time with House of Chains. It was by far not my favorite book in Malazan Book of the Fallen. Just not. It's nowhere near the enjoyment I had with Dead House Gates or Memories of Ice or Gardens of the Moon. I really loved those three, and House of Chains was a chore for me, and it didn't have as much of a payoff as I would have liked for the work that I put in, sort of thing. It didn't quite make that balance for me. And then Jimmy, I'll post it down below, had a live show discussion for House of Chains, and I'm like, well, I read this book. I just finished it 3 days ago. I'm going to watch this video and be in the comments, and it was a blast, and it made reading that book even better because, when you get to talk about something, you really get to see what people really liked, you get to make connections. It was a blast. I think it was like an hour and a half, 2-hour live, and I usually don't have the time to stay around for live shows that long. Normally there are other things going on that I have to do, or this happened to be a Wednesday night, so that's like my free time. I could have been reading a book, But it was so good, and I was not going to read Midnight Tides until January. that was my mental plan. That was where I was at, especially with how exhausting House of Chains was. I was like, okay, January. I bought it. I bought it. And I started it. I read the prologue in chapter 1, and this one might be my favorite. It might be. Once again, it's not a Wheel of Time book. It's a Malazan book that starts in a new place with new people, and it's a different time. This is the past. But honestly, really ready to fill in some of my knowledge about the history of people, especially of the Tist Edur, which is who we focus on here. I was one of the races in Malazan, so I am excited. And the writing is actually like way more traditional fantasy in this one, I feel. Like it follows a narrative that I am comfortable with, and like, I don't know, I'm nervous. I feel comfortable. It's not normally how I feel in a Malazan book. And this has only been fueled by my friend Stephanie finally reading Dead House Gates and sending me all her thoughts. And I'm like, yes, it's so good. And reminding me how much I love Dead House Gates. And I just want to like slowly read this, like a chapter or two a week until like I feel like it's going to be my priority read, because I have so many things that I still want to read. But I like just sitting down, listening to the audiobook while reading it, highlighting things and going back and checking my highlights and making notes and connecting dots. And that just requires a lot of time. It's a different way of reading than how I read anything else. I'm not usually a big annotator because I don't like interrupting the flow. But for Malazan, interrupting the flow is kind of very important for me and my enjoyment. So giving myself more time to do that is going to be really great. So that, that broke the TBR just a little bit, although I'm still doing well on things. I did finish Black Tides of Heaven. I finished 2 things this week. I don't have physical copies, so like I'm doing better than I thought. Finished Black Tides of Heaven, and this was good. Wasn't amazing for me. I'm really curious about the world, and I was really liking the second half more than the first half of this novella, and I'm excited to read the sequel novella, which follows the other character in this twin relationship, and then the other 2 I know are like mixed media-ish formats. I was looking at it at the bookstore because I have the bind-up of all 4, and the world is really cool. I love the conversations on gender and like inequality and rebellion and destiny and all of these things. I just think it could have just been a novel. Like it's 170 pages and it's bind up, I think. I would have been so happy if it was 300 pages. There were time jumps that were made where I could have been happy exploring what happened in those time jumps. Or just even staying in the parts we were in, especially with parts 3 and 4. If we had condensed the first 2 parts into like a really satisfying prologue and then just picked up at part 3, that would have been like a amazing story for me. So as it's currently executed, I like a lot of the ideas and the content, but the execution wasn't perfect for me and my tastes. Speaking of another book that I really liked the content, and I actually liked some of the narrative structure choices, but the execution was really not for me, that is The Shadow King, which I finished and talked about at book club, and I was not alone. We all really struggled with this book, and there were only like 12 of us, but normally there are people who love something and then people who don't. Like it normally averages out, and that's usually a 4-star read, is usually what a book club book becomes. This one was more of a 3-star read for our book club. And we all agreed that the content was great and that it really did highlight and accomplish what it wanted to, but in terms of like a story, a piece of fiction, there were moments when there could have been focus on character relationship development, but that wasn't there. And this is a very long book. This is like a 450-page book where the hook of the book that's on the inside flap does not come into play till about halfway through. That said, that didn't bother me that much. I just found it so dark and exhausting. And if it weren't for Robin Miles narrating it, it would have been so difficult for me to get through. This became a book that was a chore. I knew I had to finish it for book club, and so I was like, okay, well, I need to read 50 pages a day. I have to listen an hour a day to get through this. And that's never a fun place that I like to be when I read. Now, I learned so much. I knew nothing about this time period on like any continent, much less in Africa, in Ethiopia. I thought it was really fascinating how we get Italian perspectives and Ethiopian perspectives. There's this chorus that's used that I talked about in last week, and there are sections that have photos that are described. Like, I don't actually think this was bad whatsoever, but I rate a lot on enjoyment, and it was not enjoyable. I didn't like how long the sentences were. Like, lots of words were used all the time. And like I said, it was really long. It was 450 pages. and it was really slow. And I don't know, the execution wasn't really for me. And there were literally no likable characters. Like, maybe the main character, but like, she wasn't characterized in a way where I felt like I could root for her. Like, I felt bad for her. I mostly just felt bad for her. If I didn't hate a character, I felt bad for the main character. Like, that's just how it was. And I get that it was describing a really horrible time in history. And I don't know. It was kind of a disappointment, honestly. And I would have DNF'd it if it wasn't for book club. Like, I moderate the book club, so I had to finish it. If I didn't moderate the book club, I might have DNF'd it and just showed up to talk about it and see what I missed. But yeah, we all just had a rough time with it and didn't hate it. Would still recommend it to people who are big historical fiction buffs. But it wasn't what we had hoped it would be, if that makes sense. So after reading 2, like, 3.5 star reads, and like, the last book I read in October was House of Chains, I was feeling a little slumpy, and I'm like, what's on my TBR that excites me? What do I want to do? And I'd been reading a lot of fantasy, so I didn't pick up Bitter Twins like I thought I would. I was like, I'm reading a lot of fantasy. What should I do? And then I did the best thing that I could do for me, and I picked up The Galaxy Game by Karen Lord, which has been sitting on my shelf 4 months. And I finally picked it up. I'm about this far through, so I only have this much left, so I'm going to probably finish that this evening. Because it reads, like, I can just sit in her prose. Like, it's not a fast-paced story. It's actually a very quiet sci-fi narrative that is full of so many things that I love in sci-fi world building. It's such a large galaxy with huge galactical problems and issues that are being addressed. And we have our main character where this is not dissimilar to the Pattern Master series by Octavia Butler, but people have psychic abilities in this future world where people can emotionally connect to others through telepathy, or they can actually just even have telepathic conversations. And our main character in this has these abilities, but does not really know how to use them, and comes from a family where his father abused that ability on him and his family. And that's introduced in The Best of All Possible Worlds as, like, it's a very side part of that plot, and we follow that character here, and I just love the characters and the world. And there's this really interesting, like, sport event. There's this wall that has gravity manipulation that people have to go up and down. You have to work as a team, and I love it. Now, I know a lot of reviews actually are very middling for this book, and a large portion of that is a lot of people didn't know this is like a companion sequel. If I had read this without reading The Best of All Possible Worlds, I would not like it as much as I'm liking it. There are lots of characters in this that were characterized in depth in The Best of All Possible Worlds, so it was like meeting friends again. It was like, oh my gosh, you're here, I'm so excited to see you. I didn't expect to see them. And the world is also introduced in the first book, so yeah. And this is not well, it kind of does the sort of Kaigen thing where sometimes there are info dumps, but I find them very fascinating, and they are used as, like, the character was just listening to a little audio clip, but I found them very fascinating. So I love how the world building's done. In some ways it's done very, you're thrown into it. In other ways it's info dumped. And I like the internal struggles of the characters, which was also a big part of The Best of All Possible Worlds. And it's just great for me. Her writing works for me. I can just sit down and read for like an hour straight, and just... it's great. It's absolutely fantastic. I am loving this. Probably won't beat The Best of All Possible Worlds. I mean, who knows? But it's definitely a worthy companion, and I'm just so happy I picked it up. So, after I finish that, because like I said, I think I will finish it tonight, because after I film this, I don't have plans for the rest of the day. I made sure that today was a pretty chill day, except for like filming this and doing some work on my thesis, because didn't know what the booster shot would do to me. Turns out I had most of my symptoms while I slept. Didn't sleep last night. But then I'm ready. And it looks so pretty. I'm serious. This time I want to pick up the Bitter Twins. Because, I have had my sci-fi break. And I need to be back in this. And this is like the type of fantasy pleasure read I just know is going to make me excited to sit down and cuddle up with a book. So I'm ready. And I know I said this about ninth grade, but this is just such a good size book. Jess Owens was an MVP and showed me the comparison of these books with the Robin Hobb UK paperbacks, because I realized I do like this size paperback, and if the binding was similar, I would maybe get it. So I might get Tawny Man that way, although I do dislike reading Robin Hobb on my Kindle, so I'll probably just do that. But this is a very good sized book and a very anticipated sequel read for me. So those are the reading plans. I don't know what I'm going to pick up after Bitter Twins. Probably going to take a week to read the Bitter Twins. I think it's like 600 some pages. 607 pages. And on Wednesday, I post a video of all the TVs and movie shows I'm looking forward to, and I'm seeing Eternals Friday night, which is tonight when you're seeing this, and I am pumped. I was talking to my mom, and I was right. Like, I was telling her, like, these monsters remind me of the monsters in Stormlight Archive, and she's like, that's what I was thinking of, because she's also a big Stormlight Archive, fan. And I'm like, yeah, that's what it looks like to me, so that's what I'm going with. And she's like, thank you. I was trying to think of it. Which, like, that type of creature is not unique to Sanderson or Eternals, but, it evokes that type of primordial fear of, like, what is this weird hound thing? But that's it for this video. If you want to leave an emoji, I don't know, leave a galaxy or a swan. It's just so great when you have an author that you love so much and can trust. It's just a great feeling. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.